Good day everyone, my name is Adrian M. Tulod. I am connected with the College of Forestry and Environmental Science, Central Mindanao University. This topic that I will be presenting was part of my PhD thesis at the School of Forestry, University of Canterbury in New Zealand. Here I explored the importance of canopy manipulation as a tool for restoring mature forest conifers under an early successional angiosperm canopy. While early successional species often establish readily, late successional species can fail to establish, resulting to arrested succession. Delayed or arrested succession under few dominant species is a typical situation in many early successional communities. Of course, not only in New Zealand, but in many early successional communities in temperate and tropical regions. Arrested successions can occur because of competitive exclusion or because seed sources are not present. One example of competitive exclusion is where low-light environments in early successional stands prevent the establishment of late successional species. In some regenerating forests, these low-light environments can persist for many decades before changes in canopy structures allow light environments to increase and recruitment to occur. In New Zealand, indigenous forest succession was projected to take at least 200 years for original indigenous canopy species to be established in the canopy. The reasons include the loss of seed sources and some seed dispersers, and in many instances, seeds are not always available. Similar situations have been described in other early successional forests elsewhere. One of these are the Liriodendron stands in North America, which was projected to persist for at least 100 years before other species can establish in the canopy. Hence, gap-based interventions to create a more open stand structure are important in the restoration of many shade-intolerant late successional species. However, there is concern about the intermittent effect of gaps on the restoration of shade-intolerant species, because the process of gap closure could reduce plant growth over time and restrict seedling development into the canopy. Some late successional species can also be less responsive to canopy disturbances, which pose uncertainties to the likely success of gap-based restoration program. Hence, we tested the significance of different canopy treatments on the survival and early growth of planted totara or Budocarpus totara seedlings over 6 years within an early successional Canuka or Concea robusta forest. Canuka is a common early successional tree in many parts of New Zealand that establishes into abandoned farmland, forming dense patches of 5 to 10 meters tall canopies that can live for more than 100 years. We hypothesize that canopy treatments such as gap creation, ring barking, and edge planting elevate light levels, resulting in better survival and increased height growth of the light-demanding totara seedlings compared to those planted under intact Canuka canopies. We expected that the higher understory irradiances would be more significant to the growth and survival of totara seedlings. We also assumed that ring barking would be more favorable over time, as the gradual death of the ringbark trees can create larger canopy openings through unintended damage of residual trees compared to gap creation. This is the study site of my field trial. This is the Cherimoana bush, a 410 hectares restoration project in North Canterbury, New Zealand. The trial was established in October 2009 with 4 canopy treatments and 5 replicates per treatment. Here you can see the sites circled in red. These are the 5 replicates involving the 4 canopy treatments. Each replicate comprised 20 Totara seedlings planted approximately 1 meter apart in 4 rows of 5 seedlings. Below is the picture of the understory of the Kanuka forest with the Totara seedlings planted under the canopy. The treatments were the dense Kanuka canopy, which is the control, and the artificial gap, where 4 canopy Kanuka trees filled to create an immediate canopy opening of about 3 meters radius. Then the ring bark, where 4 canopy Kanuka trees ring bark using a chainsaw to cause gradual canopy dieback. Then the forest edge planting. We planted the seedlings on the edge between Kanuka and grassland ecosystem. The measurements were conducted in 2009 or at planting, and then followed in 2013 and 2015. I was responsible in the measurements in 2015, and the variables included were relative height growth, the survival of seedlings, the understory light transmittance, and the soil moisture, slope, and the slopes aspect. For the data analysis, I used different statistical models depending on the type of the data, the distribution of the data, or the best model fit for the data. For the results, here you can see find the results for the site attributes, the terrain slope, the slope aspects, and the soil available moisture. We observed, or we found from this analysis that these site attributes were similar among treatments. For the understory light conditions, total light transmissions among treatments was significantly different, but mainly due to the gap sites, which had higher light levels than the ring bark, edge, and control treatments. Light transmissions in the artificial gaps had about 10% increase with respect to the intact Kanuka canopy. Initial seedling heights were not statistically different among treatments, but 4 and 6 growing seasons later, that is in 2013 and 2015 measurements, the mean and maximum seedling growth among treatments varied significantly, as you can see from this figure. The growth also remained significant between the 2 measurement periods, 2013 and 2015, but only between gaps and control. The improvement in Totara growth over 6 years was positively related to percent total light transmission among treatments, as you can see from this graph of both the mean and maximum relative height growth. For survival or survivorship, Totara survival rates among treatments vary significantly after 6 years, but mainly due to lower survivorship recorded at the forest edge sites compared to other treatments. The seedlings had a very good survivorship, which was 89% at the edge site, and about 95 to 98% in other treatments. This variation, however, did not cause significant differences among treatments based on multiple comparisons of means. The results of the study are consistent with existing knowledge on the potential of canopy gaps for restoration in cereal forest or early successional communities. As expected, significant improvements in light environments in artificial gaps resulted in better growth performance of the light-demanding Totara. This is consistent with our hypothesis that the higher radiances or light transmissions would result to better growth performance of the planted seedlings. The result also suggests that improving total light availability to 30%, which is about 10% increase only with respect to the intact canopy, as shown in the results, would be sufficient to sustain tutorial growth similar to that found in other temperate and tropical forest ecosystems. In contrast, ring barking was not as effective as artificial gaps in supporting the growth of the planted tutorial seedlings because in our trial only a portion of the treated canoga trees died, while some of the dead ringbark trees remain standing with intact branches, which still cast considerable shade to the planted seedlings. This result differs from previous studies, which showed that ring barking can be more effective than artificial gaps. In the study of Rommel et al. 2008, it took only a minimum of 6 months for the ringbark trees to die, which in some instances created larger gaps and higher light transmissions than gaps created by selective filling. In the case of our trial in Canoga, further embarking of Canoga trees may be necessary due to its stringy bark characteristics, which appears to have prevented some ringbark trees from dying. For the forest edge planting treatment, we found greatest variability in growth and lower seedling survival from the forest edge sites, which could be due to the higher susceptibility of the planted tutora seedlings to herbivory at the forest edge from introduced mammals. Herbivory by ungulates or introduced mammals is widespread in New Zealand. Thus, forest planting can be less successful in restoration sites where mammalian herbivory is a common problem. So, the implications of our study for practice include the following. 1. Gap creation is a promising tool for the return of late successional woody canopy and emergent species within several stands because of its influence on understory light environments. The second is that using of ring barking may need further refinement to ensure that the ringbark trees will eventually die to create favorable growing conditions for light-demanding seedlings. For the forest edge planting can be less successful in restoration where mammalian herbivory is a common problem. By the way, this paper was published in Restoration Ecology Journal with the same title. I'd like to acknowledge the New Zealand government through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade for my scholarship, and the administrative support from the School of Forestry, University of Canterbury, and Central Mindanao University in the Philippines, and of course the Monobos Management in Cape Valley, North Canterbury, New Zealand for my study site. That's all for this presentation. Thank you for listening.